very inspirational, and looking forward to hearing your words. Karen, thank you for being part of this. Thank you so much.
Can you guys hear me? Good. On my 44th birthday, I felt old. Technically, I was halfway through my life at the age of 44. I didn't see what there was to be happy about. Wrinkles, gray hair, sagging body parts. What was there to celebrate? So I started thinking back to my youthful years, and I thought back all the way to my teenage years. And I loved the sport of barefoot water skiing. It's like water skiing, but on bare feet, no skis. Your feet become the skis. And I loved that sport. I was so passionate about that sport. Sometimes I would ski it 8 hours a day. One day, I turned across the lake and I slammed into the water. In an instant, I went from hard of hearing to deaf. So when I climbed into the boat, I could no longer hear my friends. The lips were moving, but no sound was coming out. It was a really, really dark time in my life. I had struggled my entire life growing up hard of hearing, and now I'm deaf. So I spent many nights crying myself to sleep. I spent many days in the shower crying so that nobody would hear me. And then one day I woke up and I realized I have a choice. One of two choices. I can continue doing the same thing over and over and getting the same results, or I could choose to become the best possible deaf person I could be. And that choice that morning changed my entire life. I met my husband, who was also deaf, and we have 3 deaf and hard of hearing kids. So going back to my 44th birthday and feeling pretty down, I realized what was missing from my life was passion. And I'm not talking about the passion that you find in the bedroom. I'm talking about the passion, the joy that you have, the goal of doing something, the excitement of loving something in life. Now, don't get me wrong, life was good. It was just ho-hum. I had a job that I loved at the time. We'd get up in the morning, shut the kids off to school, go to work, come home, have dinner, repeat, repeat, repeat. Well, my husband sent me a link to a Today Show segment. And on the Today Show segment was Judy Myers, a 66-year-old woman who was a competitive barefoot water skier. And so I'm watching it over and over and over, and all I see is this big smile on Judy's face, and I'm like, I want that. 66 years old, but here's the kicker. She learned the sport when she was 53. All of a sudden, this whole thing about being older completely shifted. I completely shifted and reframed what it means to get older. I'm only 44 years old. I had 22 years to catch up to this old lady. So I got in touch with Judy, flew down to Florida, and took a lesson from the world barefoot champion. And the minute I put my feet on the water, that old passion came flooding back. I felt like a kid again. It was a great feeling. Today, at the age of 51, I can actually barefoot backwards on one foot with my hands in the air. Something that I couldn't even think of doing when I was a teenager. Everything has shifted. Now, why don't more of us do that? Why don't we unwrap our passions as we get older? What's going on here? And I think it's because of all the cautionisms that we're being bombarded with in the media. Think about it. Before you start an exercise program, check with your doctor. You need 15 pills a day just to stay alive. Ooh, are you sure you want to try that? You might break a bone. Seriously, you're not getting any younger. I mean, those are the messages that we are facing. So let me tell you about this guy named Banana George. George learned to water ski when he was 40. Right after he had a back operation. He was wearing a brace that day. 6 years later, he learned to barefoot water ski. And he got into competition. When he was 72 years old, he broke his back. Not once, but twice, in the same year. Can you imagine being his doctor? George, I think it's time to hang up those feet. But not George. At the age of 82, he learned to snowboard. He rode a camel. He drove a race car. And then when he was 93 years old, he broke a record barefoot water skiing on one foot. He could barely walk down to the boat. They had to carry him down. But that wasn't the end. At the age of 96, when he could no longer walk, he sat in his sit-ski and he water skied. The point is, we can enjoy our passions, no matter the age. It all comes down to an attitude. There was a researcher at Yale who did a study on 660 people in midlife and beyond. And what she found was really, really surprising. If you are passionate and you have a great attitude about aging, you could live an average of 7.5 years more. Sounds like a good deal to me. Now, the one thing that I see over and over and over, I work at the Passion Mentor, so I help people unwrap their passion. And the number one excuse that I get every single time is, I'm too old. Okay, maybe you can't throw the football like you did when you were a quarterback in high school. But the point is, you can actually shift the way you see your passion and experience your passion. You can coach a football team. You can go to travel all the football stadiums around the United States. You can join a fantasy football league. You can join a senior league. You can get a bunch of all your old buddies together and play football for the day. The point is, you can reframe your passion and how you want to experience it. And this whole business about being too old, let me tell you about Alfie. Alfie is from Australia. At 109 years old, he moved into a nursing home. And the staff discovered that he loved to knit. So they put him to work knitting little sweaters for penguins that had gotten caught in an oil spill. 109 years old, and he had a brand new career. He taught everybody in the nursing home. He had classes every day. And at the age of 110, he passed on. Isn't that a great way to live your life with your passion to your last breath? And when you think about passion, there's a really simple definition of passion, and that means your joy. Passion is your joy. And the surprising meaning behind the word passion is the willingness to suffer. When you are passionate about something, you are willing to suffer for it. You'll get up at 5 in the morning and write that book that you've always dreamed about writing. Okay? You will run 20 miles more so that you can do your Ironman. To be passionate about something is the willingness to suffer. Okay? So my challenge for you guys today, when you leave here, I want you to get some clarity on what you're really, truly passionate about. And go out and do it. Okay? And here's one more thing, one more thought. If somebody hasn't done what you want to do so passionately, and no one has ever done it, maybe you have to be the first to unwrap that passion. Thank you.